Hello, welcome to the Celestial Message. I'm back, sorry about the delay. This is the second video, and we're going to discuss what it was like waking up uh, with a spinal cord injury and paralysis. Uh, Thanks for helping me get through that other video with what led to my injury. And if there's any gaps or anything, hit me up in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have or fill in the blanks for you. But uh, getting to the hospital, I'll basically go on what my parents had told me. They basically put me in a coma for 72 hours with a neck break because of the swelling that occurs is where the extent of the injury continues and damages the nerves in the spine. But it's also a spot where they see if your body is going to survive the injury. I guess there's a lot that can happen with that swelling health-wise that can, take a turn for the worse. I was blessed not to have any problems, and after the 72 hours or so, when I was stabilized enough, I was flown in a helicopter from my local hospital into the city where I had my surgery. I don't remember how many days in between or anything like that. From what my parents tell me, the doctor very nonchalantly came out and explained what he was going to do, in the surgery, and then it may take around, I don't really remember. They told me it was quite a long time. I want to say like 8 to 10 hours or so, or something like that. And the doctor ended up coming out in like 4 or 5, or it was earlier, like 4 or 5 or 6 hours. And my parents were a little alarmed because they thought he would be in there longer, but he very nonchalantly again showed an x-ray of my neck and spine prior to the injury and then after the injury, and was all squared away. A couple screws in C4 and C5 in my neck, and then he used some of my hip bone to kind of solder around the screws to keep them in, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that, something with my hip and using my hip bone to solder myself back together. But he did tell my parents that I was stable and that I was going to, make a recovery and make it to rehab. I don't really remember. I just remember waking up in the ER and obviously not being able to move, but not being able to talk because I had a tube down my throat to help me with my breathing and things like that. I also had a halo on, and the halo was to help keep my head and neck in perfect alignment after the surgery. And it's basically 2 screws in the front and 2 screws in the back into your skull, or just barely into your skull, to kind of keep your head immobilized and your neck immobilized. And then there's this harness that comes down, or these bars that come down into a harness that you wear over your shoulders to kind of keep you from being able to move your head at all in any direction. So that was different, but surprisingly it wasn't uncomfortable at all. So again, I'm laying there and trying to communicate with my parents and stuff like that, but I couldn't talk, so I would mouth words, and they would try to read my lips, which was an experience in itself. But luckily, we did have a lot of support, family, friends, and my parents' friends, and a lot of people came to see me or check on my well-being, which I think really helped my parents and I get through those early days. The ER was kind of there for a while. Um, I would get mad at people because they would come in to see me, and I kind of expected them to be like, "Hey, you're okay. You're gonna be okay." But everyone would come in and they would, say a couple things, and then they would start crying, and I was really got frustrated with that. So I remember telling my parents to tell everyone, "You're not allowed to come back there if you're gonna cry, or you can't cry." That's kind of a foolish thing to say. And I think people after that tried to hold it together. But seeing the severity of the injury from the outside was a lot different for them. I think they all knew that I was never, or probably never going to walk again, or, knew really how I was going to live my life, with an injury so severe. Um, on the other hand, for me, I was still in, um, I really don't know what you would call it, but in the belief system that I was going to heal. Uh, Everything would, work out. It was going to take a little while, but that I'd walk out of the hospital. I had never really broken any bones in my body prior to breaking my neck, and so that was kind of something that took some time to develop, or for me to kind of understand, fully. Um, like I said, I couldn't talk for a while, so it was really not a lot going on except for like the visitors, and I would get shots every like on time for pain. I don't really remember feeling any pain. Maybe that's because I was on the medicine regularly. Um, I do remember a couple crazy things. I guess my lungs kept on collapsing, and that obviously was a problem because you can't breathe. But uh, they were going to take the I forget what it's called, the ventilator, and I think that's where you have the tube down your throat, and it's a ventilator that helps you keep breathing until your lungs are strong enough. But I guess I kept on getting sick, or one lung kept collapsing, and I remember the specialist and the doctor were talking, and the doctor was like, he's ready to have, the ventilator removed, which I was really excited because that meant I was going to be able to, try to eat, drink through my mouth. I was getting tube fed before, which was uh, really unsatisfying and weird. There's really not, I really don't know how really to explain that. It's just, yeah, something I just hope you don't have to go through. It's not, it doesn't hurt or anything. It's just really weird not using, your mouth to eat or drink for such a long period of time. I remember I would get like little ice chips to keep my mouth, from drying up. It was just a weird experience. So I was really excited to get the ventilator taken out, and I remember I forget what they're called, but the specialist that dealt with the lungs and stuff like that was telling the doctor, I don't think he's ready. His one lung keeps collapsing. We should wait a while. We should wait a while. And I remember this because they were at the foot of my bed, um, speaking in front of me, and they were in a disagreement. And the doctor, pretty much like in the military, we would call pulled rank, and was like, no, we're taking the tube out, blah 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 blah, and that's it. And so they ended up taking the ventilator out, and they were checking on my oxygen levels regularly, and sure enough, I mean, it was really cool. At first, I was able to talk, and really, uh, communicate for the first time. I really don't know how much time had elapsed, but I would say it was at least a couple weeks, um, maybe like 7 to 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. I don't really know, but it was a while, and I remember talking, and the specialist was like, your oxygen levels are down, your lung is it's collapsing, and I think we're gonna have to do a tracheotomy. I was like, what the heck's that? And basically, the scar that I have on my neck is they put a little incision and insert a tube to keep your airway open, where they can hook up a ventilator to the outside of it so it's not so invasive into the body. But I do remember the doctor and the specialist having that conversation, and I think it's common for most people with this injury to have a tracheotomy, but I always did wonder if he left it alone or left it in a little longer, would I have needed to have the tracheotomy surgery. Um, so I did that, and again I had to go under. That was a quick one. Um, I don't even know, like maybe a couple hours or so, and I woke up and it was a lot better because I can breathe, or I was getting air to breathe, but I didn't have anything down my throat, which was a lot more comfortable. Um, and I was ready to eat. I remember I was so hungry, and the nurses were like, you have to have a swallowing test to make sure you swallow right and the muscles work, that you swallow and it doesn't go down the airway and everything works, which was really confusing to me. But I ended up passing that, and was able to eat food, so my parents would bring in food and drink, and that was one of the highlights, the early highlights that I remember. And then getting to know the nurses and stuff like that. It was a really great um, set of nurses. You always felt not rushed or anything like that. They really seemed like they cared about your well-being, which I guess is good for nursing and stuff like that. But yeah, I remember talking to one nurse, and we were talking. I told her I was gonna walk out of the hospital. I couldn't wait to get better and get to rehab so I could walk out. And she kind of looked at me and she's like, "I think I'm gonna have you or have the doctor talk to you uh when he makes his rounds." And I'm like, "For what?" I was like, I just think you and him should have a little talk or something along those lines." And he's the one that pretty much broke it down to me and was like, "You suffered a severe injury. There's extensive neurological damage, and you're probably not going to walk again in this lifetime. So we have a great rehab system we're going to send you to, and you'll learn how to maximize the skills and the muscles and things that you can do independently uh, that you can to live the best life possible," which was a real hard pill to swallow because I figured that I would just stay in the hospital till you're healed and you walk out. So that took a lot of getting used to it. I don't think it really set in for a long time. And again, I was in the ER for a while, going ups and downs. My lungs did get better with the tracheotomy and the stuff like that. And I think that was one of the requirements, if I'm not mistaken, due to my level of injuries, that I had to be off um, the ventilator and be able to breathe on my own before I can go to rehab, which took some time. But it all happened. Met some great nurses. It was weird to see everyone looking so sad when they would see me. I wanted to kind of see people be happy and kind of motivate me to like get better and do good. But I think everyone was just so like stunned about uh, where I was injury wise. They were probably thinking like, how is he gonna live? Where is he gonna live? What's he gonna do? His life's over. Or, is he gonna be able to live at home? And I was just oblivious to like reality at that point. Um, and yeah, so I was in the ER for a while, and then they call it a step down after the ER, just to kind of make sure I was maintaining my health and there was no, health problems or accidents that arose after that. And I was very blessed because I didn't have any any problems after the tracheotomy with my lungs or anything like that. So that was a blessing. And I remember being really excited when they said I was finally going to rehab. Um, Went under this long tunnel that was under the street, which I thought was really cool, to this rehab hospital. Got up into my room, and it was this corner room with all glass windows. There was no wall, which overlooked the city and the lake. I was in Chicago at the time, and I lived in Illinois, so I was in Chicago for rehab. But I was there for only a couple days, and I had a roommate come in that was maybe a year younger than me, uh, a similar accident. So I thought that was really cool because we were going to be the same age and be roommates and, maybe help each other get through this. And then I think the reality really set in once rehab started. The work and the things were really highlighted of what I couldn't do and what I could do, um, which is a hard pill to swallow, but it was definitely, I was blessed to be out of the hospital, or the ER, I should say, with no lingering um, health problems aside from the spinal cord injury. And I was ready to work and motivated to, defy everyone and, walk out of the hospital. But we'll save that for the next video. We'll leave that there. If you have any, like I said, any questions or anything, hit me up in the chat, or if I missed anything or you'd like me to elaborate on anything, please let me know in the chat. I hope this video reaches, um, the people that need it, and I hope it helps in some way. And I'm open for suggestions too if you'd like me to, if you have any questions or whatever you think. I'm an open book, so please don't hesitate to write them down, and I'll address them on the video, or I'll address them in the chat. But I look forward to speaking with you guys in the next video, and until then, I'll see you later. Thanks.